and welcome back to the channel. This is Thomas Goes Nostalgic, and on this episode we're building a diorama for our NECA, TMNT, Casey Jones, and April O'Neil. Alright, now on this episode we're building a diorama for Casey and April. These are the NECA TMNT figures. These are kind of old news. I haven't opened them at all, but I'm going to open them up for this. My brother, he wanted me to build a diorama based on the porch scene from the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I'm not sure where he got this idea from, so I will give credit to Project Piper Customs. He built a fantastic porch scene diorama, so hope mine comes anywhere close to that. But this will be a little bit of a challenge for me because most of the things I make are kind of cartoonish or not within the realm of realism. So hopefully I am able to get close or as movie accurate as possible, but this one's going to be pretty tricky. But first, let's get these figures out of the box. And just looking at these two figures out of the box, they look amazing. The likenesses of both characters resemble the actors perfectly, and they come with some great accessories. So of course, extra heads and hands, unmasked version of Casey Jones, alternative expressions for April. Then she does come with a foot stand, I'm assuming because of the heels. She's not the easiest to stand. Comes with these sketches, which I love, some pencils, the turtle wax that you can pose Mikey with, and then the hammer that's what April had in her hand when she was asking Casey to help fix something, and some other tools. I believe the sword Casey was using when he was cutting some vegetables in the kitchen. So that's pretty cool add-ons for this 2-pack. The box art for the slipcover is really cool. So that is the backside of the porch. So definitely taking inspiration from that. I've looked at some pictures from the actual house, some more recent photos, so definitely going to use some inspiration from that as well. And I'm going to be looking at some of Project Piper Customs episode just to get some ideas, but I'm trying not to full on copy it. His was extremely movie accurate, but I'm going to take some liberties with mine. But really excited to get these out of the pack, and then we will get started on this diorama. So first I started with cutting and magnetizing all of my foam. So I cut a few layers to act as stairs. I got the roof on. That's where my support beams for the swinging bench are going to be. So all I have to do is start getting some wood material and then gluing it down. So one of the big lessons I learned from Project Piper Customs, I'm not sure if it was his porch diorama episode or when he did the capture of Splinter, but he was using popsicle sticks and used Elmer's glue. And I don't think it worked, so I'm just trying it out with one piece. I can already see it start to bow, so that's not going to work. So in the meantime, I cut all my pieces, and I think I'm going to just have to use hot glue for all of the wood materials. So this whole thing is pretty much wood, so I cut up all the pieces, and I might use those in another project later, but I didn't want to throw those out. So looks like we'll get hot gluing. And yeah, you can see how the Elmer's glue made the wood warp. So yeah, we're just going to stick to the hot glue and see how that goes. So at this point, the floor is done, so that's great. Everything's hot glued. You can see how some of the wood planks have some spaces in between, and that's okay. I just want it to look really natural, really worn, and then you can see where I put those magnet holes in. So that's where the banister and the columns will go. I started working on the back wall, and this took me forever. I store-bought the door and the window. I didn't really feel like making those. It would have been a little more screen accurate if I did, but I just went to Hobby Lobby in the doll furniture section and grabbed those. So those will work just as well if you wanted to save some time and not make the doors and windows from scratch. Next, I just cut out the hole on the right wall because that's where the other door will go. I'm not sure if it's a closet or what it is, but it's in the film, so another door has to go there, and I'm going to start gluing the wood planks all across. In hindsight, I probably should have used some bigger planks because this is taking a lot of these wooden pieces. This is about 1/16 size. Not every time I went to Hobby Lobby, they didn't always have it, so that was kind of a pain, which is probably why this project took me so long. But if I would have used bigger planks, I could have used less materials. So it took me about 10 of those pieces to go all the way up. So they got pretty pricey. They're priced at $1.29, so 3 walls. It came out to a lot just for the walls, but this tool came in handy. I love this little handsaw, so if you're working with balsa wood, I suggest you get one. So all of the wood paneling is done on this side. I'm going to add a third wall. I think it'll obstruct some of the view in my brother's DTOF cabinet, but if he wanted to take it out, he could. But I just wanted it to have a complete look, and I'm going off that picture I saw on the internet of what the current state of the house looks like now. So the reference photo showed a third wall, so I'll include it just in case he wants it. And I'm finally done hot gluing all of these pieces. This took forever. It took a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of hot glue, but seeing it all together, it looks great. I just have to do the ceiling, the swinging bench, the banisters, and the columns. So I think the hard part is done. I'm going to start working on the bench now. So for the bench, I didn't want to take any chances, so I found the thickest, almost like 2x4 looking wood that I could, and I'm going to make this super secure with some Gorilla Glue super glue. So I'll start piecing it together, and it's really coming together. I think I was trying to get as screen accurate as possible, so just putting different pieces, different sizes of balsa wood together, it came out really good, and the balsa wood holds very strong. I started making the support for the railings or the banisters, and I'm going to use Gorilla Glue for that as well, because that seems like one of the most fragile pieces. I have these spindles from Hobby Lobby that will go well just where I put those dots, so I just measured there, and I'll start gluing. So the bench is complete, the banisters are complete, so a few steps closer to being finished. You can see these banisters are just magnetized on. Oop, I gotta hot glue that one back on. I think I'll just probably use Gorilla Glue so it holds nice and tight. But I just wanted that to be kind of modular because I didn't want to put the magnets on top of the wood. So I just put the magnets at the bottom of the plank. Figured that would be easier. I'm starting to cut these squares, and these will be the bottom and tops of my columns. And I'll just use some pieces of scrap foam that I have and give it some texture and extra molding on the side just so it gives it some depth. I'm also going to use 2 of those foam pieces as support beams, and that's where my bench will hang. I really couldn't make this until the bench was done. I needed the width of the bench, and then in between I'm going to put those popsicle sticks and paint it the same color as the floor. Then I put these little eyelet holes. I screwed them into some balsa wood beams. I could have screwed it into the foam, but I didn't think it would be that secure. So if you see those wood pieces going down, that's so it's just some extra strength for the chains when you put the figures on, so it's nice and strong and it won't break off the foam. And you can see the columns starting to take shape. I could leave them just flat like that, but I think they probably could use some extra detail, so I'm slicing some very thin pieces of foam, and then I'm going to cut the middle out and then just glue that small piece of foam on. This way it'll look like some molding that's attached to the column, and I think it would just add some extra depth just so it's not so flat. So I really just used my Proxxon and cut the same length, but really thin pieces, so it wasn't difficult for me to use an X-Acto knife and cut out the middle. So it'll have some extra detail. I think I'll have to cut 4 of them out for each side of the column, which will be better for photos. And I have my first column complete, so that was tedious, but it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. So I can't wait to get this painted and see how it looks. I just love that it has that extra ridges on the edge and the sides. I think it came out really cool. Now this part was tricky. I took a wire hanger, and it took me a while to get the shape and the right lengths that I wanted, but I made sure I secured it underneath, and I put a cross beam in the middle, so it's at least the weight will be held by that wire hanger and not just from the bench. So painting was actually the easiest part. I only used 3 colors on this project: black, white, and gray. So gray for the ceiling and floors. I painted the walls white, black washed it, and then dry brushed it white. That gave me that really gritty, dirty, aged look for the porch. And really, the only thing left to do is get it assembled, and we'll get some figures on it. this diorama is complete. This one took me a really long time. I live here in Florida. I started this during Hurricane Ian, which was back in September, and I just kept going back and forth, stopping the project. I'd run out of materials. I'd have to go back to the store. So to get this done before the holidays is such a huge weight off my shoulders. Big shout out to Project Piper Customs. Again, he was the only one that I saw did this type of diorama. His was more screen accurate. Like I said, I took some liberties with this, but I had a great time making it. Definitely tested my patience, my will, but I think it did come out pretty good. So I can't wait to get to my brother so he can get it up on his shelf. And these two characters are made for this type of environment. So if you have this 2-pack and we're thinking of building a diorama like this, hopefully this video helps. And that does it for this episode, folks. If you like this content, hit like, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notifications of when I post my next episode. Until then, we'll catch you next time.